Good morning. Welcome to day 2 of ILTA in the eDiscovery channel. This is Tom O'Connor, along with my good friend and football aficionado, Dave Clark from, tell me your name, the firm name again, Dave?
Curtin McConkie in Salt Lake City.
My apologies, I always forget. So, first off, I want to ask you, did you see the keynote speaker yesterday morning?
I did, yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of buzz about that, and I didn't get to it. What was your take?
Well, he was kind of talking about where technology is going, and not in the next year or two, but in the next 10, 20, 50 years, you know. He talked about the driverless car, and he talked about, some of the nanotechnology where, I think one thing that he brought up was the first digital camera, the Kodak camera back in the 70s. It was 20 pounds or 30 pounds or whatever it was, and it was 0.1 megapixel, and
right.
I don't even know how you got the crap off of it. Maybe you had a diskette in it or something like that.
To plug it into the side of a computer, right?
Well, no, you couldn't. We didn't even have that technology back then. Right. You probably had to use a 5 1/4 floppy or something. I don't know. Or
so my question is, and we've been hearing this. You and I have been around in this business for a long time, longer than either one of us want to admit. Mm-hmm. Is that, the buzzword now is disruptive technology. Mm-hmm. Was he just a good speaker, or is there something really there, in your estimation, about disruptive technology?
I think so. I think you see where our kids are today with texting and photos and.
Right.
I mean, one of the other slides that he had a slide with a camcorder and a cassette tape and a VCR and all this technology that we grew up with that now you can hold in the palm of your hand.
Right.
And it's all in the palm of your hand versus having to go to the cabinet and turn the VCR on.
Right.
So I look at my own kids, and I know you've got kids too. They're a little older at this point, but what's it doing to their lives? They are totally disrupted from a life standpoint. That's all they do. They play games. They text. I think we're creating ADD. If you want to ask me, I'm coming from someone who's ADD.
But okay. Granted, all of that. What's the application to our profession? How does that apply to legal? Yeah. I'm not dismissing the social changes and everything that's going on. We're always so far behind social changes in our profession.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. It took us how long to get from the word perfect to the word era? It took 10 years really to get everybody to that.
Dragging, kicking, and screaming.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think that it will affect us to a certain extent. But I don't think it'll affect us as much, just because we're very stuck in our ways. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Look from a litigation standpoint. I mean, you've got predictive coding, you have all these cool technologies that, frankly, a small fraction of the people out there are using.
And knowledge management people were talking about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They're kind of looking at us going, yeah, that's what we were saying.
Well, you look at your average attorney, your litigation attorney out there, they're still looking at paper.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they will be looking at paper in 20 years from now.
I think it was Michael Arkfeld who said, we're the only profession who practices our profession by looking in the rear view mirror.
Absolutely.
We base everything we do on
what happened
prior
10 years
decisions.
Ago. Mm-hmm.
Yes, is there established precedent, and nobody wants to be that first one taking the new step. So that's a good point. All right, so that aside.
So I don't know. I think disruptive technology. I look at my own firm, and really the way that you eliminate disruptive technology is you ask the users where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? What technology and software do you think is important for you to do your job? And granted, some of that disruptive technology is an iPad or an iPhone or an Android in their practice. But I think we use them more as tools versus social media to a certain extent.
Right.
I look at where law firms are from a social media standpoint, and we're still 5 years or 10 years behind. Way behind the normal consumerization of social media.
Right.
We don't know how to use it from a marketing standpoint, and we probably never will know.
I was thinking of my son, who's always like 3 clicks ahead
Yeah.
he was doing Facebook like 5 years ago when he
Right.
was in high school. Now
Right.
that's passe. Like,
Yeah.
Dad, Facebook. But he looks at, well, you know how children look at their
Sure.
parents, right?
Sure.
So last question. I don't want to tie you up for too long here, but as you mentioned, I'm a litigation guy, so I'm always keeping my eye on that. What's going on in the rest of the law firm world? Are we moving to the web? Is that really happening?
Yeah, I think so to a certain, maybe not the web, but hosted.
Hosted.
Yeah, which could be the web, or could be
yours.
could be VPN, could be mine. Yeah.
Right. And so security and privacy concerns.
Absolutely.
Big deal.
Yeah, totally. That's what we're focusing on right now is risk management.
You are.
Oh,
Okay.
definitely.
And that's what I'm hearing from people who I've seen attending here, that's a big issue right now. If we're going to be doing something other than our plain old LAN.
Yeah. Well, talk about chasing tails. I mean, we're so, the bad guys are always way ahead of us,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we'll never catch up to them. It's just a matter of keeping them in the, in the windshield.
Right.
So we can see 'em.
Outsourcing to reduce some of that risk, to shift that
Everything
risk
I
over?
do, absolutely. I think a law firm that does litigation support in-house is stupid. And I'll tell you why.
And I didn't pay Dave to say that.
No. And I'll tell you why. Because from a risk management standpoint, if you make a mistake, it's your fault. And there are sanctions capabilities, spoliation type problems.
The landscape has changed
It
since
has
you and I
changed.
started in this business.
I think, weren't you doing litigation when you were in San Diego
That's correct.
in-house?
That's correct.
And I just think it's ridiculous to even think about doing that in-house. I know.
Shift the risk to somebody else.
Absolutely. Why would I want the risk? Why would I want to be the one that's sitting up on the
Right.
stand in court saying, why did you screw up? And
Yep.
you can only blame technology so long.
Good.
And part of it is the technology is changing. It's becoming way more expensive. I think if you look at some of the tools like predictive coding and some of the higher-end processing tools,
Right.
law doesn't do it anymore. iPro isn't going to do it anymore.
There's so much data.
Yeah.
The volume of the data is just immense.
Well, and it's exponentially going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
I mean, you see where we're at with data today. Wait till you start hitting big data. Starting
Right.
to do discovery on big data when
Right.
you're dealing with not terabytes, but you're dealing with petabytes or exabytes, or heaven only knows what we're going
Right.
to be dealing with.
Right.
So.
Good. Well, great. I appreciate your taking the time to
Yeah.
talk to me. Always a pleasure talking to you. Now we can go offline
We can
here
turn this off and
talk football. That's it for the morning of day 2 at ILTA. We'll see you all later on the eDiscovery channel. Thank you.